Streaming to your device directly from our soundproof bunker somewhere underneath Southern California, it's the Hollywood Horror Nerds, your number one source for news, speculation, and discussion exclusively for Universal Studio Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights. And now, to your hosts, Undead Ed and his co-host, our resident ticket guru, Alvaro.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hey, welcome to another episode of your favorite Horror Nights podcast, the Halloween Horror Nerds. And we're coming to you today with some news that just dropped yesterday at the time of this recording. Hopefully we get it out tonight.
The news is that A Quiet Place has been announced as a maze this year.
Officially announced A Quiet Place. It's our first Hollywood announcement. We've had to suffer through several Florida announcements with nothing for us West Coast people. Finally, we got an announcement, and it's not, as I expected, Ghostbusters. It is A Quiet Place, which was also speculated. We were really hoping it wasn't. We really wanted that Silent Hill maze. We got A Quiet Place. What was your first reaction?
My first reaction is, why?
Other than money?
No, besides money. My reaction is, A Quiet Place is supposed to be, quiet. How are they going to incorporate elements of fear while still being quiet, which is being true to the films, and at the same time going with noises? Because that's one of the main key elements that we have throughout the mazes is, the background music, people screaming.
My reaction was skepticism. So we talked about this a little bit when we saw this popping up on speculation. I think we were speculating about this one pretty early even, of how would this work? Because it's a loud event and they can control the sounds that are being made by Horror Nights itself. So they could control what music is playing. They could just not play music. They could tell their scare actors, you have to be quiet. They said there's going to be elements of American Sign Language in the maze. So that was a big part of the movies, and that's kind of cool. So instead of having someone talking to you saying, go this way, they'll sign to you and indicate for you to go that way. That's kind of fun. But you can't control for other guests. And I don't see other guests, because the way you go through these mazes, if you've never been to the event before, there's always people in other groups right in front of you and right behind you. There's a lot of people around you at all times who aren't employees or other guests. And I do not see, I'm sorry, I just don't see other guests being quiet for the experience. They're going to be laughing, they're going to be on their phones, they're going to be screaming constantly. I just don't see how they're going to be able to control for that to make it quiet. And that's such a big part of these movies. A lot of the fear comes from it's so quiet the whole movie, and then when there's loud noises, when something scary is happening, it's such a stark contrast that really elevates the horror. And I just don't think they're going to be able to bring that across.
Yeah, and I'm just skeptical about how the ASL aspect is going to be incorporated into it. Like, instead of motioning where to go, are they going to sign to you where to go?
Yeah, I imagine it's just it's hard to think about, because sometimes when they tell you, hey, you're going the wrong way, you're going towards an exit, you need to know that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can't get a little turned around. They call them mazes. They're not really a maze. You have to find your way out. It's just kind of called that. But sometimes you do start turning the wrong way and an employee has to direct you. This is the actual way you're supposed to go to experience the whole thing.
I've definitely had moments where I accidentally turned towards the employee exit where there's come out and scare you. And I definitely have been turned around. So I definitely can see where this confusion would come into play with other guests, especially when you have those thankful moments of it's just you in there.
Yeah. We've seen, I remember we watched the Krampus maze for the Christmas episode we did, and the guy recording ends up going the wrong way for 3 steps and gets turned around. So it does happen. And it's just another element of how is it all, I just don't see how, I'm very interested. I guess one way they could incorporate it perchance is if they have some kind of screening at the same time as you're walking. So, or one of the characters is on screen doing ASL, telling a story on screen, doing sign language with the subtitles under it.
Subtitles would have to be a necessity.
Let's be honest. Most guests can't read American Sign Language. I certainly can't without subtitles. Sometimes you can figure out. So they're just trying to indicate go this way or be quiet. I can probably figure out that part. But if he's trying to really convey a story there, but I don't think they're going to be having an original story. So what got me, because I remember our last speculation, I was really down on this maze, and what brought me back a little bit to the point where I'm not just ugh, this is just homework. I'm going to go through this. Is that it's not going to be based on A Quiet Place Day One, which is coming out. It's going to be based on the Quiet Place and A Quiet Place Two,
The original two
the original
movies.
two, and that is more interesting to me because I really I didn't see A Quiet Place Two because once the way that ended in Quiet Place One, I felt like I was done. I felt like I it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it, and I'm done.
I thought the ending was dumb, not gonna lie.
It was a
John
fine,
Krasinski could have thrown a noisemaker and then, hid
yeah,
instead of suicide
yeah.
bombing.
This is a world that the more you think about it, it doesn't hold up. I think the movie worked really well because you really enjoyed the characters. It was very well acted. It was well realized for what it was, and it was very original. But it is a movie that if you start thinking about it, these plot holes emerge very quickly, and the whole thing unravels.
Yeah.
So that's part of also why I thought it was, and also because some of the people in the family die, and I'm like, I'm not as interested in the family dynamic with only part of the family now going forward. But I do like that setting. It's going to be more rural. I think that's more interesting than like another cityscape. We've never seen that before. Then it's just another zombie maze, basically. So I am interested in that element. Like you're going through, maybe they'll construct like a cornfield for you to go through. That would be really cool. Or these barn settings. We've seen really good rural settings before. This is going to be in the Walking Dead attraction that last year was Evil Dead Rise, which is also right next to where we speculate the Latin American maze will be, which also usually have a very strong kind of rural setting. So that'd be kind of fun to have kind of this rural area where you're going to be smelling. They've been so good with the smells.
Smell-o-vision has
You'll
been
have that, the
point.
dirt smell, and you'll be going through vegetation. I think that could be a really interesting element that might bring this maze up a few
I'm gonna
notches for me.
anticipate we're gonna be smelling corn from the first
I was
movie.
probably, I'm betting a lot of dirt. I'm going to be a heavy dirt, like foresty smell.
I just hope they incorporate the waterfall. That was a big point slash
That would be
plot point.
cool that there was a waterfall that you
Yeah,
went through. So there are definitely ways that they could incorporate it. So I'm much more excited that if this had just been A Quiet Place Day One, and it's like, oh no, you're going through New York being attacked by aliens, I would be so negative right now. I'd be like, oh god, I can't believe I'm gonna have to do this. Just I was like, I would skip this one if I didn't have to. So bringing it back to actually the movies that we've seen that we've liked, and I think the setting is a little more unique. Okay, I'm willing to meet you halfway. I'll come see how you try to do it. I think they are going to take a big swing. They're going to try to do something here. I feel like it's not going to be just phone it in. I don't know if they can pull it off. I really don't, but I hope they do.
we're gonna wait and see.
Yeah, I think that's all we can really say about that. There's not too much to say, just because they didn't give us too much to chew on here.
No, they just
I'll say,
confirmed
okay,
it.
one other element that's going to bother me. I'm going to complain about this, I'm sure, when it releases. I'm going to get out of the way now. This is another kind of maze where there's one monster. They all look the same. It's a kind of a on all fours, more animalistic thing. So it's probably going to be animatronics. Not the best kind of scare to go for in these mazes. If you remember when they did Stranger Things season two, they allowed the
Recta.
Demogorgons, the
Oh,
Demodogs that were on all fours, and it's the same. You're going to see that same American Werewolf in London animatronic that's being reskinned every horror night. It's going to be here. I guarantee you, it's going to be in this maze, and you're going to see just a lot of that. Of just animatronic jumps at you, slowly retreats back.
no, for Stranger Things, there was a lot of Vecna.
Well, that was Stranger Things last year. I'm talking a few years ago when they did
Oh,
season two.
yeah.
So going to be hard to figure out. And I'm hoping they don't try to do a lot of, oh, here's the human raider coming to get you because it's post-apocalypse, and we're going to fill in the gaps with that because that also is big negative. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to try to do for the sound element. Don't know how, don't know if even possible, but we'll see. We'll see. We keep an open mind. Also, pretty concerned that it's going to be the same scare over and over. But again, we'll see. I am excited for the setting. It's going to be different. I mean, this
Yeah.
this could be if they somehow pull it off, this could be huge. This could be a really good one. If I just don't see how they get there.
Let's come at this with an open mind
Yeah,
and
I don't want to come into it negative. If this was a Quiet Place day one, I'd be coming into it very negative. They brought it back. They got the John Krasinski. They got the Emily Blunt. Okay, okay, now I'm in.
nah,
I'll give you a shot.
John Krasinski. Let's see what he comes up with. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna not speculate too much after that, just because, like you said, open mind to it. I don't want to be too negative, even though I am very skeptical. I don't mean to be negative skeptical, if that makes sense.
I will say, just because this is at Universal, who owns NBC, and it is also John Straczynski. I'm hoping that somewhere deep in the background of this scene, they hide a stapler and Jello somewhere.
I was thinking of that. I was
That
thinking
would
a lot
be
of
that
The
would get them like
Office.
two more points in my ranking at the end of this.
Those that would be more of a Easter egg in a way.
Yes, just put it very in the background, very subtle. Don't call attention to it, but have it in there at Universal.
In the last scene, I want a John Krasinski character dressed as Dwight.
Yeah, yeah.
The full calculator watch, glasses, everything, and he tells you to be quiet because identity theft.
This is not a joke. So that's Quiet Place. So we do have our first Maze announcement. Hopefully, we'll get more soon. Usually, there's been more. It feels like they're slow off the jump this year. The Orlando people, they got like all their original mazes announced, and apparently, based on what I've been reading online, because we're not Orlando people, we've never been to that one. They really like the original ones. Like, it feels like these Orlando people are more interested in the original ones than the IP ones, which is a little wild to me.
Yeah,
So I feel like if you're on the West Coast, if you want original, you go to Not Scary Farm, and if you want IP, you go to Halloween Horror Nights. And I like the original stuff they do, but that's not the reason that we're attracted. That's not the reason we're going in the first place.
mm.
So we'll see. We'll see what else they have in store.
Yeah. The other thing Orlando had was that they got their ticket announcements way earlier than us.
This is our other topic. So finally, we have our tickets dates announced, and the tickets are on sale. So what are the dates for the event this year?
It's September 5th to November 3rd.
So you have a
So
pretty wide
yeah,
selection. There's basically two full months. Pretty much all of September. I think it's every weekend in September, every weekend in
exactly.
October, one weekend in November. And the closer you are to Halloween, the more expensive it gets. So if you're trying to save money, go earlier. If you value having your Halloween experience closer to Halloween, except Halloween night usually is not as crowded. That's also something to consider. The closer you get to Halloween, you can expect more crowds. Although based on the last few years, you're not going to avoid the crowds no matter when you go. It's going to be packed.
Exactly. There's going to be last year, I personally went on two different experiences. I went with the VIP experience, the RIP
Mhm.
tour, and then I also did general admissions. Um,
When we went last year for the RIP tour, was that September or October?
we went early, so it was
Yeah, I
probably
think it was fairly
September.
early,
It was
but it was
September.
still packed.
Yes. It was crazy. I think a lot of people have the same mentality that we do as a come early.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, now that everyone has that idea, there is no early anymore.
yeah.
It's just time.
And it's such a limited time event, and there's so many people in LA who want to do it. A few ways you can try to ameliorate the crowds. If your work schedule is flexible and you can take a Friday off or come in late on Friday, they do offer this on Thursday nights. That is usually much less crowded. I've never been able to go, not for a
It's
long time. I think we went like in college.
yeah,
So if you can do Thursday, that's going to be a lot less crowded.
and cheaper
Friday
as
is less
well.
crowded than Saturday, and Sunday is also less crowded than Saturday.
Saturday.
But also keep in mind, if you're new to this event, you're going to be there after midnight. You'll be getting home very late. So if you're going to be working early the next morning, maybe not a good day to go on Sunday or on Thursday.
Yeah, unless you can get mysteriously sick.
If you can take your PTO day that day,
Yeah,
that's fine.
if you have sick days and you tell everyone I'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, you're going to be with a lot of people, so you might as well just plan to get the flu and schedule
Yeah,
that sick day early.
exactly. No, that was the one thing I did notice. It was a lot more people. Like every year, I keep saying that. There's more people than last year. There's more people than last year, and it's
It
honestly
feels like
true.
there's no way for them to get more people at this point. You're so packed this whole time. So there used to be a lot of strategies that we used to employ that kind of got around the crowds. We were only going to wait in a full line maybe once or twice. Where if you know you go early, you used to be able to get in early on just the normal ticket. Some mazes would open early. You could knock a lot of stuff off really early, and then you're only left with one or two mazes to do at the full wait time. And if you time them right, you can avoid the big crowd because the crowd kind of moves in a big clump. That's not true anymore.
Nope.
Everything is packed from the jump. There's no real way to get around it other than what ticket do you buy. So that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of the episode. Because now that the tickets have been announced, we can see what the options are. There's nothing new for us this year. So we've actually experienced every kind of ticket there is. There's four main kinds. We've done all four experiences. We're going to go through, talk about here are what the options are, and here's what we think. If you're this kind of person, this is the ticket for you. So what is the first option?
Our first option is general admissions.
General admission. So this is the cheapest one, and it's also the most bare bones. What
Yes.
I think with general, you get into the park, and that's it.
Yeah, you only get in once the daytime people are getting kicked out.
Do you know if you get in at 5 or 7? I think it used to be
The,
5, and
the,
they've moved it
the
back.
event opens at 7, but you can start getting in around 5, I believe. But
Okay.
they don't let you in. They keep you on hold. Right where the first
Like
restaurant is.
Universal Plaza.
Yeah, the Universal Plaza. That's the end place where they keep you, and then all the way back until the line starts.
Now you can show up early and hit City Walk. City Walk is fun. We might do an episode down there at some point.
They opened a new
There's
monster store.
there's a new monster. There's good shopping there. They've really upped. I feel the food options have
Yeah,
really gotten better there. There's a few fun stores. It's a good place. You can kill an hour, 90 minutes there, no problem.
easily.
So if you want to buy maybe a Friday, you head over after work, spend a little time at City Walk, or walk right into the park. Not a terrible plan.
No, it's definitely
And
if
you're gonna
you
pay for parking, but otherwise City Walk is free to the public.
you'll have a good time. Um, if you just plan to do City Walk, I think it's like 1.5 hours. The first 1.5 hours is free as long as you leave early.
So I will say, so general admission, just get it, accept it. If you're going with this option now, accept it right now. You're not going to do every maze.
Yeah,
You just do not have time. The park will, even if you try, the park will close.
I honestly though last year we did get through most of our mazes. However, we were cutting it really close by
Mhm.
shortening our meal times.
Right. You're not going to have time to really sit and experience you're probably not going to go to the shows. You're not going to really get to sit and have a slow meal, or maybe try a few different food options, or maybe go get a drink at the bars they set up. You're just going to be bouncing maze, 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 and you're going to spend a lot of time in line for those mazes.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be switching with people, going, okay, I'll stand in line, you get food. Okay, you're back, now I get
Yeah.
food. It's gonna be a lot of that, and you're gonna get annoyed with slow walkers. The
So,
solo walkers are the worst.
so if you are a fanatic, and you probably are if you're listening to a podcast about this probably is not the path for you at this point. But if you're someone who you are a little more casual, or maybe you have a big group that's going, you think, you know what, not everyone in this group is going to be that into it. They just kind of want to come hang out, have a little spook. Or you think, I'm only really interested in 3 or 4 mazes this year. I don't really care about these other 5 they're doing. This one would then make sense. You could go do the ones you want to do. Usually the rides that are open do not have such a long wait. You could go do Harry Potter or go do the Simpsons ride. You may get the food is open to everyone. There's no cutting lines for food, so you get a food, sit down, maybe go to a show. You don't see everything, but you still have a good time and you go home.
Yeah.
If that sounds like something you're interested in, just a relaxed evening, you're still going to wait in long lines. You're not going to get around it. You're going to go maybe 3 or 4 mazes. It's going to be an hour to 2 hours getting into each maze for you. If you can stomach that, general admission's the way to go.
If you're going with a group of people, I would say take some party game ideas.
Yeah, it's good if you have something like on your phones, you can all play together or
uh,
something like that to kill the time in line.
like a 20 questions, guess who?
Because if you remember when we went to the park a few episodes ago during the day, we commented on like the Jurassic World line seems to go fast. So they have stuff for you to kind of look at and enjoy. Not true for the Horror Nights
No,
lines.
there is
They're
nothing.
just big switchbacks.
It's empty space. All you can do as entertainment is if someone in front of you, behind you, or side to side is having an interesting conversation.
You can enjoy like the screams coming from the house, and as you get closer, all these houses have very elaborate facades they put up that kind of set the scene and set the mood. And this is the one perk I feel for general admission is you get to spend a little more time soaking in that facade and really getting pumped up to go into the maze before you actually do.
Yeah,
When you're in any other pass, they pretty much let you right in, and you kind of lose that 2, 3, or 4 minutes of kind of getting hyped up and a little tense, so you're properly scared by the time you enter. But is that really worth 80 minutes before you get to that point?
yeah.
Not really, in my book.
One of the things that
So
we did when we went general admission was that we did no rides,
yeah, you don't have
no
time for that.
rides, no
Yeah.
time for rides. Which it leads to our
So
next option
what's the next option on the
after
list?
2 p.m.
The
day
after
night.
2 p.m. So this one is great if you've never been to Universal Studios before. You want to experience the studio tour. You want to experience Super Nintendo World. You want to experience the Harry Potter ride. Or if you just haven't been in a long time, maybe you want to see what they're doing for the 16th anniversary for the studio tour. Maybe you really want to see Nintendo World. I believe last year the only people that got in to Nintendo World were the after 2 p.m. people. You had a special wristband. So if that's a big item for you, this is actually going to be probably the best pass, even better than the front of the line
No,
pass.
last year they didn't really let anyone in.
Yeah, it
They
was
didn't
only
really let.
the 2 p.m. people got a special pass.
Yeah, they
And
didn't. I
even if you
remember.
were
Yeah,
on VIP or whatever,
yeah.
they weren't letting you into Nintendo World because it was. It might be different this year because it's less new,
I think
but
it
it
was.
still feel has that kind of new paint smell to it. So we'll see.
I think it was more about crowd
It
control.
was they didn't want it too packed, and I
Yeah,
think they went you in. And even then, I think the wait for the Mario ride was still like 2 hours the whole
yeah.
night.
Because if you think about it, Super Mario World is a kind of an isolated area that's really small.
Yeah, but also if Super Nintendo World is a huge deal for you, this might be the best way to experience because you're going to be able to go in there at night when it's all lit up and looks cool, and it's going to be less crowded than during the day because only these 2 p.m. people are going to be in there with you.
Yeah.
So that is something to consider. This is a perk that front of the line passes don't get. However, experience the rest of the event, you're going to be running into the same problems we just talked about with general admission, where you're not going to be, you will be able to experience rides because they'll be open during the day and you'll be experiencing them, and maybe you can eat before the event really starts. Although I will warn you, there's this odd kind of crossover time that happens. Last time we did this 2 p.m. pass, we experienced this where it's like between 5 and 7, where it's kind of this twilight where the general admission is shutting down and the Horror Nights is starting up. Where you're very limited in what you can do. Like they close off, I think the lower lot, we couldn't go back down to the lower lot anymore. A lot of the food options were closed. Like we really wanted to go to the Three Broomsticks and Harry Potter food. It was just closed. You just couldn't order.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about it though is that you get early access to certain
Right.
mazes,
I think
certain
last year
houses.
the Latin America maze opened early. It used to be several open early. I think it was like 5 of them out of 8. Like everything on the lower lot opened early. That's not true anymore.
No,
It's become very limited.
when we went the first time with the after 2 p.m. ticket, I remember we hit like three mazes
Yeah,
because we were the first one in each
we
one.
were. Because if you got there at 2 and these mazes all opened at 5, everything that was on the back lot that used to be its own area would open at 5. And you could walk on every maze. The downside is that you're going during the day. And if it's in a tented area, which most of these are in tents, you will get some light filtering in that will, it doesn't ruin it, it diminishes it a bit. And
Yeah.
also because your eyes have to adjust to the dark, you won't be able to pick up as many details going on inside these scenes as you would if you went in during nighttime. Again, that's less of a concern because you're only going to get to the one maze early.
Yeah. Uh,
But it is something to consider. So this isn't a bad option.
it's not because it allows you to experience Universal's
You'll get to
rides.
experience more. I still think maybe with this one, if you cram and use crunch, maybe you can do every maze, but it's going to be a rush for you.
It's
You're going to have to like really plan it out and like go online and read the forums and figure out what other people's routes are and really try to game it out.
yeah.
So again, if that's a priority for you to do everything, probably also again, sadly, we've reached a point where this is not the one for you. But if you are open to a more relaxed experience, you don't mind missing a few things, but you want to see the rise, you want to see the daytime operations, you really want to see Nintendo World, good option for you, the 2 p.m. pass.
Yeah. The next option, I'm gonna group these two together because they're basically the same. It's Universal Express and Universal Express Unlimited.
Similar.
Yes.
There's one difference. So I think with Universal Express, you get to cut to the front of every maze, every attraction once.
Yes.
And do you also get priority seating at the shows? I think so.
Let me see. I
You don't have to wait in
don't
the line at least.
believe you get that much access to the
You don't
shows.
have to wait in line for the shows. You don't have to wait in line for anything the first time through. However, if you want to do something twice, there's little QR, so they scan your barcode for your little ticket. And if you try to use it again, unless you have unlimited, they only let you through once.
Yeah, they only let you in once. I just read the details. Shows are not part of it.
So breaking news. I think you don't have to wait in line though.
I want to say no, just
But I know
because.
with the Rip Torch we'll get to in a second, you do have a special seating area. And I don't think that's true for the front of the line pass.
I think for
Universal
Express,
Express, not front of the line, excuse me. Let me use the correct brand terminology here.
I think for Express, the idea is that you get to general sitting faster.
Exactly, exactly.
So you still get it's still helpful such that you get to get your seat easier and faster?
So if you're someone who you listen to Horror Nights podcast like us, you anticipate this event every year, you want to see every house, even if you're not super excited for it, like A Quiet Place, this is the one for you because you're going to be able to do everything. And you'll have time to also go to the bar. You'll have time to try some of the weird Horror Nights foods. You'll have time to do the attractions. And you might even be able to leave early.
Yeah. Um,
But if you are someone who says, what if you're like a Quiet Place fanatic? Like, I want to do the Quiet Place maze 7 times. I want to do that a lot because I really love that franchise. Now it's time to upgrade to Express Unlimited. Because if you're not unlimited, you're going to pretty much be able to do everything once and maybe do one repeat and then you're done.
yeah, the one thing that it does not cover is it excludes Bowser's Challenge, the Super.
You do not get to go to Super Mario World.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then you get to go into the world. You just
Is
can't
that
go
different
into
this
the
year?
ride.
Okay, that's different this year then.
You can't do the ride. So
Last year
that's
you couldn't even get the world.
no, the world was blocked off.
But is it that you can't go in the world or can you go on the ride in general?
You can go into the world. You cannot go into the ride.
Okay.
It
Okay.
doesn't count. The ride is not part of the
Well, I
package.
remember we didn't love that ride. We thought it was okay.
It was okay.
It was okay. It's good. It's not great.
The VR aspect of it,
It was cool. It wasn't fast enough.
no, it was
It was
not.
slow.
But
Do better, Universal Studios.
be best. Uh,
So yeah, if you're a real Horror Nights fan, you already know. You already know this is the one you want to get,
yeah,
and this is probably the one you want to get. It's not as expensive with RIP. It's easier to talk your friends into it. That's been my experience at least,
yeah.
and it's going to cover everything. So let's talk about
Wait, one more
one
before
more.
we that. This is the after 2 p.m. Day night
Mm.
express, Universal Express. So it's the same. It's the
This one
combination.
I call. I really want to do the studio tour, and I want to express because that's the only because you're going to be able to do everything else with your normal Universal Express pass. You're going to be able to do every attraction if you want to do them. You're going to be able to do every maze. You also have time to eat and drink. But the studio tour closes at 5, I think. Even on the normal operating days, it closes early. So if you really want to do the studio tour, and there are enhancements for this year, I'm not sure this will be open then, but they're gonna have it's spruced up. So you need the 2 p.m. for that.
Definitely, and it's
Or if you want to see the Waterworld show,
oh yes, because they haven't announced what it's going to be this year.
they still haven't announced what the version is going to be for nighttime. It's not going to be Waterworld, I think. It'll be something horrific.
Last time it was the Purge.
Hope probably it's just going to be the Purge again.
It would be
It's almost
too
certainly going to be
it's going to be
Purge
too on the
returns.
nose. It's an election year. I don't think they want to get too political.
I think they're very lazy and they're going to do the Purge
I don't
again.
think they want to be
We'll see.
political
We'll
about
see.
it. Okay. So yeah, this is just a combination of the after 2 p.m. ticket with Express. Of course, you get to the front of the line, you get early access. So you're going to have a good time. But now we get to the meat and potatoes.
The RIP tour experience.
Yes.
Alvaro, why don't you tell us, as our ticket guru, what's so great about the RIP tour?
So, one of the greatest things about this is that you get to have a private tour guide with you.
It's not that. You're in a group. You're a group of other people you don't know. Semi-private.
Semi-private group
There's
tour.
maybe like a dozen people.
Well, there's
in your
12.
group?
It's a max of
Right.
12. You get to have a tour guide with you the entire experience from the time you select. So you have to select the time for your tour to start.
And it lasts about 4 hours.
Depends on when you want it to start. But yeah, it's about 4 hours considering that we started last
let's walk
year
through the
at
experience.
6.
So
and
the
we
first
ended
thing you
at
do
10.
is you have a special entrance you go through.
Yes.
They also have during the day they have a VIP tour experience for Universal Studios itself. That's a little more extensive. They take you onto the back lot. They walk you through actual sets that are like working sets, which is in the prop warehouse. That doesn't happen for Horror Nights.
Oh, one thing before you even get there with RIP Tour, you get to have valet.
This is the most important. You get free valet.
Yes.
When you show up in like your janky car, and the valet is like, no, Uber goes somewhere else. Like, no, valet me.
Valet.
And they're like, oh, thank you, sir.
I was so mad when I shouldn't say that. I was not pleased that they thought that we were just Uber drivers.
And my car, I have a new car now, but my car then was a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
And they really were like, this is not the line for Uber drivers. I was like, no. I'm here for the valet.
Yeah.
So it is actually a nice perk because parking is not cheap
no,
at
it's
Universal
not.
Studios. But it's like $20, $30
starting.
for general. Yeah.
And that's only if you have like a small
So
car.
I mean, you're not making a savings on that. You're still paying more for this RIP tour,
Yeah,
but it is nice that you're then not double dipping. They're making you pay parking too. Another thing they're not double dipping you with is
dinner.
food. When you go, so first you go to your special VIP area, which is very nice, very classy.
It is.
I was concerned because I had really hyped this up to our little group that the dinner will be included. There'll be food before we
Yeah,
start. All that was there was free water. I'm like, oh my God, is it just free water? Is this all there is? But no,
the peasants
you
get
you
water.
go to a special like roped off area. It's like by the Parisian Cafe. I think if you know Universal Studios well, a bit by Minion Land.
Yeah,
And they've roped off that whole restaurant area, and they have it's a buffet, but it's a very nice buffet.
it's a very classy buffet. They have a lot
It's
of
like a upscale Vegas style buffet,
yes.
right?
They have your pastas, your salad, a dessert bar, coffee bar, and for the people who can't drink, a bar. But that's not
The bar's
included.
not free. You have to pay for the
Yeah,
alcohol
you have to
still.
pay per drink.
The water and you get free like Coca-Cola cans, which is
Yes,
always very classy. I will say the buffet last year was good, not great.
it could have been better.
It was good, not great. But it is included in the price. You don't have to wait for it, which is nice. The dessert was pretty good, so it definitely elevates the experience. So you get to do that, and then as Alvaro said, you go and you meet your private tour guide. Every group has a tour guide who's trained and they know all about the mazes, and you get your own little bus vehicle that drives you around and
Oh, the bus was fun
to go on the
because
back lot. Yeah,
when we started after dinner and when the actual experience starts, you get walked down to where the tour is. And at first it was like, oh, all the different tour groups are gonna join into one long bus. No, no, no. You get one bus for two tour groups.
yeah. So it cuts down your walking a little bit because you're not walking up and down the hill. I think did we walk up the hill? I
We
think you go
did, we
up, but
did.
they drive you down. You do see a little bit more of the back lot. You do get some fun. I mean, they made up stories about ghosts on the back lot, but it was fun. And there's a few private photo ops you don't get to do unless you're on RIP tour. So there's a lot of little sweeteners in here.
Yeah.
But the meat and potatoes of it is the free meal, which you can't get elsewhere, and the tour guide, and you get a special line. So I remember when we started going, we would each front of the line. Felt very elite. You're cutting the regular line. These days, I feel like the front of the line, you still have to wait 10 minutes because the VIP line is cutting you.
Yeah, the express is being cut by the RIP line.
Yes.
So even when even in the world of perks and upgrades, there's someone with a bigger upgrade.
Yes. I believe there was some strangeness last year about whether or not you could redo things in the VIP line. If you had to go to the express line for your second visit, we just went in VIP line. They didn't confront us about
No,
it.
we had unlimited for every
Yeah,
attraction.
but it was fine. So you really cut the lines
Yeah,
with RIP.
this came in handy because I don't remember if you recall in one of the houses, the people in front of us kept stopping so
So we were
much.
able to go do it again. The
We
Exorcist one.
yeah it became a conga line. That's when I say it stopped, I mean it stopped
So that's a perk of RIP. But again, that's also a perk you can get if you just buy unlimited.
or
You can
express.
get Express Unlimited is what I meant. What else is included in RIP? I mean, so the experience you're going through on the tour guide, it's guided, so you're not really controlling it. They tell you we're going to do this one, now we're going to go over here and do this one. And they're supposed to tell you a little bit about the maze. There's a story behind it, they tell you the story, so you get a little background about it. You can't, if you like, oh yeah, I want to do this one again, they're going to be like, no, the group is going to the next one. You are allowed to leave at any time if you're not enjoying the tour. You're like, I really just want to stay here. You can do that. I don't recommend it. It was fun to be with the group and kind of the inside story on how these mazes were put together.
Yeah, one of the things that I enjoyed was at the end, it culminates with us going to the water show, and we
This was
have
the VIP seating.
yeah the VIP seating. We had to wait. We didn't have to wait in line at all.
Yeah, you
We
walk
just
right in.
went straight into our seating. We didn't have to fight for seating. It was great. And after the show, that's where we said bye to our tour guide.
Yes. And then, so we scheduled this early, and that's what I would recommend doing, is schedule this at the start of your night, like as close to 5 as you can get it. Because keep in mind, the first hour is going to be the dinner, and you're going to want to have time after. Then afterwards, I think we got done around like 9, right?
But yeah, we were done by 10.
Yeah.
We were done by
So the
10.
event goes till 2, so we still had 4 hours, and that's what you want. So you want to be able to go and redo your favorite ones. So if you schedule your start time at 9 or at 8 even, you're not going to have much time afterwards to do anything.
Yeah.
You'll have some time before, But I don't know. It seems strange that you would go on a ride or an attraction on your own, and you're going to go again with the tour. It doesn't make maybe it makes sense to you. It didn't really make sense to me. So I would suggest if you're going for this experience a little early, is it worth the price? I think if you're a huge Horror Nights fanatic to the point where you're going to have your own podcast about it, it starts to make sense. I didn't feel like I was getting ripped off buying this for what I got out of it.
Yeah.
It is definitely more expensive, but it's not unduly expensive.
No.
You're not paying. It's not like you're going the Galactic Star Cruiser in Star Wars in Florida and you're paying $5,000 a night for this. It's a few $100, but if you're way into Horror Nights, I think it can be worth it.
Yeah, the way I calculated it was if you save about $42 a month, by the time September rolls around of the following year, you'll have
Yeah,
enough money for
when
Horror
September
Nights.
ends, you'll have enough money.
Yeah. One of the things I did enjoy about it was that you get to make friends with other people in the tour group.
You do.
Yeah. So you get to like feed off each other's energies.
Yeah, sometimes you listen to your podcast.
Yeah. And then like you definitely like once the tour guide ends, you make friends with people, you can go off and like do the other stuff that you didn't get to do in a tour, such as the rides.
You need to do the rides. You can cut the line on those too.
Yeah.
So it's just everything you get in the Universal Unlimited Express, plus that individual attention, plus the private meal.
Honestly,
And it's a photo op. The photo ops were good last year. You had a special one, excuse me, with the grabber.
it's the grabber. He looks way more realistic to the one from the movie. There's no waiting in line. Everyone else had the Blumhouse grabber, which you had to fight everyone else for a
So
chance to it.
it's fun. It's worth it if you think it. I think if you feel like it's worth it for you, it is. If you're like, wow, I don't need this, you don't.
Yeah.
But it's a nice option to have. And I remember last year it was hard for me to find information about it, so I hope this is giving you a good overview so you can tell is it worth it for me or not now.
Yeah.
So you understand the full experience. I think that ends us for ticket options, doesn't it?
I believe the only other options that exist are, let's see now.
I think that ends us for ticket options that are worth discussing.
Yes, the other ones are if you're the frequent fear pass, so and the ultimate fear pass, so you just come back
It's just
day
like an
after
annual
day.
pass, and it
Yeah,
depends. Do you want all days blocked or no days blocked?
exactly.
But you
So
don't get express with that. So
it's general admission.
you can get express. You have to upgrade the park. I don't know. I'm not into these annual pass games. Maybe you are.
I
But I think that's going to do us for
think
this
that's
episode.
it.
All right. So we'll be back next time. There is another announcement, of course. We'll come to you for our reaction. In the meantime, I think we're going on a little trip this summer, aren't we?
We're going to camp.
Yeah, we're taking everyone with us to camp. So be on the lookout in the next few episodes. We're having a very special little vacation with you guys this
Yeah.
summer.
I believe we're going to a very crystal clear lake.
Somewhere in New Jersey.
Yes.
Until then, stay scared out there.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this production of the Hollywood Horror Nerds. We know you have many options for your listening entertainment, and we're glad you chose us. Find us on Instagram at Hollywood Horror Nerds, on X at HW Horror Nerds, and on YouTube at Hollywood Horror Nerds. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite alternative podcast site to ensure you don't miss next month's episode. And until then, stay scared out there.